I believe that the best classroom management starts with prevention. So it's really important that I get to know my students really well. So as soon as I get my class list, I'll head to the OSR room and read through and see who my students are and where they're coming from and what their experiences with school have been like previously to entering my classroom. Once I've had a chance to get to know my students on paper, I'll finally have the opportunity to meet them in person. The first time I meet them, and every time I meet them after, needs to be positive. I need to be there at the door waiting to welcome them into my classroom. Every day. By being there, waiting for them, I can gauge their emotions and their feelings and their state of being as they enter my classroom so that I can have a handle on what their day will be like and what I can do to make sure it's a positive one. It's about creating a safe and welcoming environment. I want them to come into my room and feel safe. I don't want them to have any fear. I want them to be able to be themselves without consequence. I want my classroom climate to be fair. I want it to be free of judgment, but I also want everyone to know that everyone has their own specific needs, so everyone requires different strategies in order to be successful, and that's our goal, to be successful. And in order to be successful, everyone must take their own individual path. So while things may seem unfair at times, it's important to remember that as long as we're all successful, there's no such thing as unfairness in my classroom. In order to teach students that they need to be on the path to success, I will co-construct a classroom management poster with the students that provides them with a visual path where each square is a different step that they need to reach in order to continue on their path. Some of the squares I may guide them to, so they could be things like be patient, be kind to others, work as a team, or work independently, or complete your assignments on time and always try your best. And take your time. All of the criteria would be positive. I would try to avoid those don'ts and the nevers. But by having the students involved in creating their poster, they would be creating their own path to success. I'd be giving them choice, which would hopefully lead them to being self-regulated learners, because they would be involved in their own success and they would be organizing their own path to success. Teaching them to be responsible for their own success and their own actions will help guide them to be self-regulated learners who are held accountable for their own successes. Also, by co-constructing these posters and our list of classroom goals and criteria, I'm giving them the language that can be accessed during times when they're unable to self-regulate themselves. So with this language, I could remind them exactly what they should be doing in order to be successful by referring back to our poster, back to our goals, or back to our squares of success on the path. I'll be able to encourage them to be successful to reach their learning goals without having to explicitly tell them what I want from them. And I'm still giving them a choice and still providing them with the independence to be in charge of reaching their own goals. I also might consider implementing a reward system in order to guide the students into learning and representing appropriate behavior. So with the reward system, I would use it as needed, enacting it whenever I thought it was necessary. I don't want the students to become so reliant on the reward system, believing that they only need to act accordingly in order to receive a reward. I want the reward system to be sporadic, so that they never know when the reward system will come into play, in hopes that their behavior will match that of the class expectations at all times. When it comes to the reward system that I'd implement, what I've found to be beneficial and what I've seen in other classrooms is when the system isn't about just gaining rewards, but you can also lose rewards. This way, you can represent the behaviors that you like to see by giving out rewards, but you can also note the behaviors that you don't want to see by removing the reward. This way, the students have the opportunity to learn what acceptable behavior looks like and what poor behavior looks like. And with both of these examples, they have the choice of how they want to act in response to the classroom expectations. So while prevention is very important and lays the foundation for excellent classroom management, I do believe that there will still be behavioral issues in the classroom. I'm not naive that they will not exist at all. But when these issues occur, I want to address them in the most unobtrusive way possible. It's important to not let these issues interrupt the entire class learning for everyone. It's also important that the behavior is dealt with in an incremental manner, and that we don't start with the worst punishment possible, but that we give children a chance to learn that their actions have consequences, and that in order to stay on the path to success, they need to change their behavior. So, as an example, I would start just by recognizing the student and calling out their name during a lesson, in hopes that hearing their name reminds them of the behavior they need to be showing in order to remain successful in the classroom and reach their learning goals. If this doesn't activate their responsibility to behave, I would try removing them from the situation by having them sit away from their peers, but still in the classroom, so that they're able to learn and don't miss out on the opportunity that the rest of the class has of receiving an education. By removing them out of the room, then they're no longer having the learning experience that they deserve. So from there, if behavior was still interrupting the class, I'd try contacting their previous teachers and their parents to see if this behavior is common and what suggestions others might have for decreasing that behavior and increasing their ability to be successful. I'd begin to implement any suggestions that I received from the parents or previous teachers to see if the student responds to this consistency of management that's coming from the parents and their previous teachers. That way it's consistent with what they're doing at home and what we're doing at school. It's completely transparent and there's no difference. If these strategies were still unsuccessful, I guess the next incremental step would be seeing if the school-based team is available, and then seeing what their suggestions are, and really just going from there.